All right, let's talk about one of the most incredible, most jaw-dropping stories in the history of football. We're going to dive into the legendary Champions League match between Barcelona and PSG, a night that literally redefined the word impossible. Now, really, just think about it for a second. Have you ever seen something happen that just defies all logic? A moment where you just have to shake your head and wonder how it was even possible. Well, hold that thought, because the story we're about to get into, it's one of those. Now, for a story like this to be truly great, it has to start not with a triumph, but with an absolute unmitigated disaster. And that's exactly where we begin. We have to go back to the first of the two games to really understand the insane mountain Barcelona had in front of them. There it is. Just look at that score. 4-0. Let that sink in. This was the final score of the first game in Paris. We're talking about a complete and utter humiliation on one of the biggest stages in sports. And look, this wasn't just any old loss. This was Barcelona we're talking about, a team stacked with some of the greatest players to ever touch a football. And they weren't just beaten, they were taken apart piece by piece. They were outplayed, out-hustled. They looked finished. The shock was felt all over the world. And that quote right there, that was pretty much what everyone was saying. I mean, everyone. The experts, the press, probably even some of their own fans had completely written them off. The comeback wasn't just unlikely. People thought it was a total fantasy. So here's why this was such a monumental task. It's all about the aggregate score, right? The total goals over two games. So Barca didn't just need to win the second game, they had to somehow claw back that 4-goal deficit. And here's the real kicker. If PSG scored just one goal, Barcelona would suddenly need to score 6. The task was just mind-boggling. But then came the second match. Back at their home stadium, the Camp Nou. In front of almost 100,000 fans who were probably more hopeful than expectant, the team walked out onto that field. And with them, they carried a tiny, tiny flicker of belief. And the start, well, it was perfect. An early goal just 3 minutes in sends this jolt of electricity through the stadium. Then another one just before the break, and suddenly you could feel it. People started to think, wait a minute, maybe? Then a penalty early in the second half makes it 3-0, and the impossible starts to feel, well, kind of possible. So let's take stock. On the night, Barcelona are absolutely flying, winning 3-0, but they were still losing the whole thing 4-3 on aggregate. They had climbed most of that mountain, but they were still one crucial goal away from the top. And just as that belief in this stadium hit its absolute peak, disaster. All that momentum, all that incredible hope, it was all about to be completely crushed in a single heartbreaking moment. PSG scored a single away goal, and just like that, the entire game flips on its head. The aggregate score is now 5-3 to PSG. That massive mountain Barcelona had just climbed, poof, it was gone. Now they had an even bigger one to scale. They didn't need one more goal anymore. No, now they needed 3. And this is where we get to the final frantic minutes of the game. This is the part of the story that still gives you goosebumps. This is where football stops being a sport and just becomes pure, unbelievable drama. Let's just pause there for a second. 3 goals, 7 minutes left, plus whatever the referee adds on. The odds are just astronomical. The dream is over, right? It has to be. But someone forgot to tell the players on the pitch. And then, in the 88th minute, a moment of absolute magic. A brilliant free kick is curled into the net. Goal. 4-1. Now, most people were probably thinking, okay, great goal, but it's just a consolation. But it was more than that. It was a spark. So we head into stoppage time. A penalty is given to Barcelona. The pressure in the stadium must have been suffocating. And he scores. It's 5-1. The aggregate score is now 5-5. The stadium is just shaking, but they still need one more goal to win because of that PSG away goal. Unbelievable. Can you even begin to imagine the noise, the atmosphere? Every single person is on their feet, screaming, trying to will the ball forward. Every player, even Barcelona's goalkeeper, is flooding forward for one last, desperate roll of the dice. We're in the 95th minute. The absolute last seconds are ticking away. One final, hopeful ball is floated into the penalty box. A player stretches out a leg, and it's in. The net ripples. It's 6-1. The comeback is complete. It's absolute chaos. History. Right there. And when all the dust finally settled, it was so clear that what had just happened was so much bigger than one football match. It became a moment that defined careers and became this incredible testament to the human spirit. The sound of that final whistle was completely drowned out by the roar of almost 100,000 people who had just witnessed a genuine miracle. Players were collapsing all over the field, some in pure joy, others in total disbelief. They had just written history. So, why do we call this the greatest comeback ever? I mean, yeah, the skill was incredible, but it was so much more than that. It was about this unshakable belief, this insane mental strength, and just a sheer, absolute refusal to believe they were beaten. And if this incredible night taught the world anything, it's this. You hear that old cliche in sports all the time, but this game proved it's the absolute truth. It is never, ever over until that final whistle blows. See, this match just transcended the sport. It's more than just a memory now, it's a legend. It's that story people are going to tell for generations. A story about hope, about what's possible, and about that one night a group of guys steered at the impossible and made it happen.